Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode of Wise Words with Walker. I figured for the first episode it wouldn't be right to not spend it outside on a beautiful day. Let's get straight into it. Let's take a minute to think about this. Is a culture defined by its loyalty to its cultures? Or is it defined by the traditions put in place decades and centuries before us? Eating cake for breakfast or having family Sunday lunch and dinner? So today, we will discuss Italy's many traditions, stories, and craftsmanship, as well as the importance of loyalty and perseverance. Let us begin with one of the most infamous pieces of architecture, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Construction for the Tower of Pisa began in 1173 under architect whose name I will not even try to pronounce. In the process of constructing the third floor, the project faced an issue. The clay soil beneath the foundation proved unstable, causing the tower to lean southward. Despite the unintended tilt, the Leaning Tower of Pisa has become one of the world's most beloved and recognized monuments. These structures represent the pinnacle of Romanesque and Gothic architecture. This tower went from a huge mistake to a representation of perseverance. The tower demonstrates how unexpected challenges can lead to extraordinary achievements. It represents a great life lesson. You might be surprised at how the same perseverance is used in Italian sports like calcio. Known for its violence and similarity to gladiators, this sport is widely known and loved by Italians. It has been called an early form of football that originated in the 16th century Italy. There are only 3 matches played a year. The teams who play each other first are decided on Easter Sunday. 4 colored eggs are put into a bag, and the first 2 pulled out face each other. After playing in the 2 open games, the final is played every year on the same day, June 24th. The modern version of calcio allows tactics such as headbutting, punching, elbowing, and choking. Punches and kicks to the head are illegal. My favorite part about this sport is that they're playing for 0 rewards. There's no money paid to any player for participating. No trophy raised after the final match. The players endure the concussions and lacerations and fractures simply because it's what they've always done. Now, if that isn't love for tradition, I don't know what it is. But to stay on the topic of fighting, Italians picked up on a little bit of combat after World War II. Now, I know karate originated in Japan, but karate also introduced karate was also introduced to Italy and a lot of Europe after World War II by American soldiers returning from Japan. Vernon Bell was responsible for introducing karate to Europe during the 1950s. He began training with his sensei, Henry Plea, at his dojo in Paris. They then began to share and spread what they had learned and were known as the fathers of the British karate. But Italy not only dabbled in karate, but also had its own long-standing martial art traditions, specifically fencing or swordsmanship. There were many to affect the sport, but none quite like these Italian masters. There's Filippo, Achille, and Rodolfo helped develop and codify techniques and rules that continue to influence the sport today. In fact, these techniques and styles were adopted and further developed by other European nations, particularly France and Spain. Clearly, the spreading of tradition is important to Italians, even when it's not their own. That's special. Now let's get to my most anticipated part of this episode. Still on the topic of traditions, slightly. I would say we are leaning more towards loyalty to traditions. The Sicilian Mafia, also known as Cosa Nostra, was one of the most notorious and influential criminal organizations in history. The roots can be traced back 200 years to 1816 during the Bourbon Restoration, which was the fall of Napoleon. There was a lack of political control among the states, and it created a power vacuum. The Sicilian took this chance to rise when rich landowners needed protection for their massive estates. Mafia profits are higher where land is more fragmented. This led to many private enforcement services that were later formed into more organized groups. At one point, it turned from buy our protection services, please, to buy our protection or you'll need protection from me. The Sicilian Mafia emerged as a response to weak institutions, offering protection and mediation services within a context of concentrated land ownership. A Sicilian politician by the name of Baron Teresi Colonna was documenting the activities of the mafia in a pamphlet that was labeled Public Security in Sicily. By the late 19th century, the mafia had expanded its operations beyond just rural areas and into urban centers like Palermo. And in these times of major business being made, they had to stick together, and here are some of the ways that they did that. The mafia relies heavily on a strict code of silence, where members vow never to betray the organization to authorities or anyone outside. Initiation rituals, like the blood oath, further reinforce this commitment, symbolically binding members to this organization for life. What's that stereotype? The mafia loves opera? Although not very true, the mafia was known to have a form of love for opera, but not in the way most of us would think or have seen in movies or TV shows. It was still a tradition of many Italians and cherished by so many. Let's go over some of the history and traditions Italy knows and loves. Italian opera originated in the late 16th century due to experiments done by Florentine Camaradas to recreate the style of ancient Greek drama. Jacopo Puris Daft is often considered the first ever opera in Italy. Opera is not just an art form. It's a cultural practice, a form of collective memory, and a powerful way to express artistry that continues to resonate with Italy today. Handel's operas such as Giulio Cesare showcased virtuistic singing and elaborate arias. The most preferred and frequently performed opera is often considered to be La Traviata. Known for its emotional depth and beautiful melodies, Verdi's clever use of music as a way of emotionally connecting the characters on stage with the audience in the theater is what makes La Traviata a truly unique experience. And last but not least, I figured we'd save a popular lore deriving from this culture for last. Kind of building on the traditions aspect of this episode, the story of the Italian boogeyman. In Italian folklore, the boogeyman is a figure used to scare children into good behavior. It is known as a demon or spirit. It has the appearance of a man or ghost, but black. In some regions, it has no legs, and from the waist down, it fades into a tip. It can also manifest itself in other forms based on how he wants to capture his victim. This creature was brought up to children who didn't want to sleep. They were threatened to call the boogeyman if they didn't close their eyes. It's said to live in the woods or in the mountains and prey on children who venture to its territory. The boogeyman is believed to punish misbehaving children either by kidnapping them or scaring them. I mean, wow. They tell this story to children. That's amazing. I can only imagine staying up all night trying to fall asleep so I don't get kidnapped into the woods by a ghostly figure. Man. Um, these were some really fun traditions to explore, as well as learning the loyalty that Italians hold themselves to. I think this is really fun. I want to thank you all for listening. Sayonara.